Welcome, new flutists! So we have learned now how to make a sound on the head joint. So today we're going to put the whole flute together. Yay! So here again is your whole flute. We already had the head joint out, so why don't we start there. We're going to grab this middle joint called the body, and the head, it really will only fit in one way. This is the head joint, this is the barrel, it goes right inside. Now it's important that you hold the flute by the barrel where there are no keys. We do not want to be holding and squishing our keys and our rods. It's very important to hold the flute this way. And then we go straight in, push the flute in and twist a little bit. We do not want to go crooked and kind of jam it in there. See how it's a little bit crooked? Sometimes it may not even look very crooked, but you got to be really careful. I usually hold it out arm's length so I can see exactly what I'm doing, and I go straight in like that. One hand this way, one hand this way, and I make sure it goes in nice and straight. Now we're going to do the same thing with our foot joint. This is the little one. This goes on the end. It goes down here. Same thing. We don't want to let it go on crooked like that. That's going to damage this little rim here and bend it in, and then pretty soon it won't fit right. So we want to hold this end by the barrel. We want to hold this end down at the end below all the keys. Put it straight in. Twist it like this. Now how do we know that they're lined up right? The rod of the foot joint should be about right in the middle of your key. It looks like you would line up rod to rod, but you don't. That's actually not how we play. We line up the rod with the middle of the key. Why? Because this is our pinky key right here. So we want our pinky to be able to reach that key. If we had it way back here, it would be awkward. So that key is supposed to be just a little bit behind this key because your pinky is just a little bit shorter than your other fingers. So as we're lining up with the head joint with the body, we want this embouchure hole to just about line up with the keys here, maybe a little bit behind. We don't want it out in front of the keys, and we don't want it back behind the rod. We want it, and it's going to vary a little bit depending on your playing style, but somewhere in between this key to this rod is about where it should line up. So just about like that. So now that we've got the flutes put together, let's put our case down out of the way, set it on the floor, and let's work on balancing the flute. There are 3 places that your body holds and touches the flute besides the places where you have to play the keys. So we don't want anything that is involved with playing keys to have to hold up the weight of the flute. So we have 9 fingers all together that play keys on the flute. All 5 fingers on the left hand and the 4 fingers, not including the thumb, on the right hand. All 9 of those fingers have to be free to play the keys. They have to move up or down. You cannot use any of those 9 fingers to support the weight of your flute. So what's left over? Well, obviously we have this one thumb. There's nothing on the underside of the flute where that thumb goes. There's nothing there. So we don't have to worry about pushing any keys. We just have to worry about holding up the flute. So we do it with that thumb. And then another place we do it is at the base knuckle on the index finger of our left hand. So really right here. And think of that knuckle as being just a little resting place for the tube of the flute. So we've got our thumb, we've got our knuckle. I'll show you how that looks. Looks just like that. And we've got our face. You didn't think of that, did you? The 3rd place we hold the flute is not even our hands, it's our face. So all together, I can hold the flute with all 9 fingers completely off, and I'm just using those 3 points of contact. The right thumb here, the left index finger here, and my face. Now, how do we get there? Probably the first time you try this, you're going to drop the flute, so be careful. Don't try this until you get it set up right, number 1, and then number 2, it's probably a good idea to be, have the flute over your bed or something like that, so that in case you do drop it, you won't hurt the flute. I've done this a million times for many years, so I can do it without dropping the flute. But if you think you might drop your flute, put a safeguard in place so that when that happens, it won't hurt anything. So here is how we're going to set the flute up in order to balance with those 3 points of contact. So first of all, our thumb, we want to have not out here. You never ever ever want your thumb out here or off to the side over here. The thumb needs to be directly under the flute and slightly behind it. Just slightly behind the flute. Because then you're able to push forward a little bit on the tube of the flute and kind of anchor the flute in towards your mouth. This part of the flute, this hand is going to hit the flute right in between these first two keys right here, right there, and you want it coming back at the flute. So you've got thumb going forward, left hand coming back, and then kind of just anchoring the flute into your chin or your mouth. Now you don't want to anchor too hard. You don't want to put a lot of pressure on your jaw. That would hurt. But just firmly enough so that the flute will stay in place. So let's try that one more time step by step. So first of all, we're going to grip the flute lightly in our right hand. So we're going to start with this hand first. So put the flute up to your mouth and then find that spot where your hand goes and just get it here kind of under the flute. So now you've got your left hand in place and that should be pretty firm. Okay, now we're going to take our right hand, we're going to open it up and we're going to push forward on the back of the flute with our open palm. Now we're going to take our thumb, and I'm going to turn around for this part. We're going to take our thumb and we're going to stick it behind the flute and move our hand off of the flute. So here we go, we've got it balanced. 3 points of contact. This is another thing, just like playing your first notes on the head joint, that you do need to practice over and over for the first few weeks that you're playing the flute. So keep re-watching this video, look at yourself in front of a mirror, and keep working on that until you really consistently are able to hold up the flute using only those 3 things. So all 9 fingers are off the flute. When you're really good at doing that, you're going to be set up for some really great hand position and posture and control, and that's wonderful. You're going to be way ahead of the game. So thank you for watching.